If you have pets, you know how challenging it can be sometimes to get them to listen, a little bit like children, maybe. Our special guest today is an expert in dog training. She's actually a veterinarian and an award-winning agility competitor who has taken her dog training online for the last several years. And so I'm really excited to learn from her, not just about her business, which is a niche we haven't interviewed on the show yet, but also to find out her take on seed launches. And if that's a new term for you, hang on. We're going to get into it today with Carolyn Lincoln. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate your having me here. I love your podcast, so thank you for inviting me on. I hope it can be helpful.
Pleasure. Yeah. So tell us how, you've been online for a couple of years. So this was not I can't do in person anymore. I have to go online. You were online before all that happened. What made you decide to take your business online?
Well, I'd been practicing veterinary medicine for about 25 years and behavior was always my interest. So I found it increasingly frustrating that I only had 15 to 30 minutes with each client to do all the things, right? The physical and the treatments and so forth. And I didn't have enough time to address behavior. And that was a huge need for people. And I would just be really upset and sad to watch someone walk out with a dog I knew was probably headed for relinquishment based on what I'd seen. So I decided to do in person. Once I was in person, I realized how much of a need there was. And if I could put it on video and put it online, I could really help a lot more people and their dogs.
I love that. And that's the way most of our businesses start, right? With a need. There's something I can do. There's something I can fix. There's an impact I can make. And so tell us about how that transition went. Like, is it really different to teach online? Are you still doing some one-to-one, or is it all one-to-many with your classes?
I do some one-to-one. I love having the videos because I can tell people they can go watch them when I'm in their home. A lot of times they're distracted. They're distracted by their dog. They're distracted because you are a strange person in their house, even though we try to get comfortable with one another, and it takes a lot more time. For me, it takes a lot more time because then it's really a medical appointment. And when I can make it into more of training, then it's less work for me. It's easier for the client. They can watch the video as many times as they want. And then I still do teach a group class, and sometimes I'll teach more than one, and that I love. It's fun. So I'm not saying it takes the place completely of in person. It can. I'm really surprised at how well my members, I have membership, and how well they've done. I mean, I'm blown away that they get the results that they do. It's so much easier. It's less money. It's more efficient. It's just all the things are good.
Fabulous.
Kind of answer your question?
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think that's what all of us are looking for. Like, how do I get better results for my people with less of my time?
And I think
right? If we could all say that at the end of the day, that's an amazing success.
Yeah. And my big challenge has been getting people to believe that, because they just already have it set in their mind. It's like dog training's in person. End of story. Mm-hmm. They have to think outside the box. And then also the marketing piece has been challenging. Getting it online in a form that is going to, attract enough people that I make a big difference. So.
What are some of the things that you've tried that have worked better than others in the marketing department?
Well, you had mentioned seed launches, and those have worked really well. I've done 3 of those, and I have 6 courses altogether, and then I have a membership. And then I also did a live launch, which was really cool. I did 3 days in a row where I was live and went over, the 7 options that you have to change behavior or to impact behavior. So that was probably my favorite one. It was a lot of fun to be live and interact with people. And then it got me a good result. So Yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching or listening to this, I hope that you're picking up on this. When we interviewed Allison Vidato a few episodes back, she does not like live. She's low key. She wants to do everything, laid back in advance, lots of prep, and no live work or huge exertion, right? But people like Carolyn and I enjoy the live better. And so there is no right or wrong in launching. I want you guys to pick up on that. It's figuring out what works for you and for your people. And for those of you who don't know what a seed launch is, that's a term that we're getting from Jeff Walker's Product Launch Formula. If you don't have the book, go grab the book. It's amazing. But the seed launch is essentially where you're bringing people in to you're selling them into your program or inviting them into your program at the beginning before you've even created the product or the course, so that you can continually be serving them as you create it with them and be sure that you're meeting all of their needs. And so just wanted to explain that terminology there for anyone who's not familiar with that. But Carolyn, tell us how those seed launches have worked for you. What's that experience been like?
I've loved the experience, and because we're working together, and there isn't as much pressure to have things perfect. And as you said, I like to do things live. It's the same thing with my personal life. Like if somebody drops by and it's like, oh, let's make dinner, I'm so much happier to do that than to plan a dinner party, because then I get all inside my head and worked up about, what I have to do and how I have to prepare things. And it was the same thing for the course. So, one of the ones that I've done a couple of times, actually, I did 2 seed launches for it, and it was Stop the Barking. I have my own 3-step system that really works and teaches the dogs when to bark and when to stop. So you can still have a watchdog, but you don't have a dog that's excessively barking. But helping people at first, when I did the first seed launch, there was some feedback that, I didn't give enough details about how I do some of the training, which I thought, because, when you get to a certain level, you don't realize what people don't know, that they understood how to do some of those things. And as it turned out, it's like, no, I guess I have to go into more detail with that. So that's when I did a second seed launch, and that worked really well. So now I'm taking that course and what I've learned and putting it into, a pre-recorded course, which I'm fine to do. So
love that, because, and it's something we teach in Successful Online courses and our Master Teacher Accelerator program too, is that you need to be constantly evaluating, whether it's a seed launch or not. You still need to be getting people's feedback on how is this working. And that can be so insightful, because as an expert, we can get too in our heads sometimes, or the things that come easy for us, we forget that other people, it doesn't come easy for. I mean, that's why we're teaching this, right?
Yeah. And you probably,
it doesn't come easy for them. It's not natural. And so with those surveys or those feedbacks or the talking to your students, even, you're able to get that feedback that says, no, I need to go back and explain that again in order for them to be successful.
And you probably teach that, if you send out surveys in between each one, you kind of know, like, what did I miss? And what do you want on this next topic, kind of thing. That was extremely helpful. So yeah, totally.
Awesome. Love it. What would you say is something that you've learned that you plan to do differently in your next launch?
I think by now, because I've been doing it a while, I'm trusting myself more. I've been following a lot of formulas, so to speak. And they aren't always quite right for me. I don't want to sound sexist, but, there's a lot of men that are in this space, and they relate differently. And again, sorry if you take offense to this, but they relate a little bit differently than I think women do. And so or just me, I'm just putting more of myself into it. So what am I going to do differently? I know one of my superpowers is talking to people. If I get them on the phone, or I get them on a Zoom call, or I get them on any kind of call, group call, or even a podcast, they get a sense of who I am, and they're more likely to, join. And so I think I'm going to do some calls, just open Q&As to see what people like. But I mean, I'll always also go back to seed launches whenever I, need to for a new course.
Yeah. And I think that's becoming more important in this day and age where we're feeling more isolated as a general population. That we need the human connection. And I think we're seeing sort of a resurgence of, back 10 years ago, it was like, oh, you got to do everything online. It's got to be automated. It's got to be, no touch. And I think we're kind of seeing it come full circle back around to where the touch is important. The connection is important. And to establish the trust that we need in today's age that is overloaded with tech, we need to have that human connection and conversation a lot of times, whether it's getting them in the door or whether it's helping them be successful with the thing that we're doing.
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with COVID and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So if you could give a piece of advice to yourself when you were first starting with your online business, now knowing everything that you've learned, what would you say to someone who is the Carolyn of 5 years ago, just getting started?
Two things. I would say work on getting a following. I did a lot of things ahead of that and to get a following. And I think that was unnecessary and really, it took a lot of my time. Just be you. That's the second piece of advice. Be yourself. Get your voice out there. Don't worry about, oh, I'm trying to attract this person, or I'm trying to do this right or do that right. Think about who you're serving and what they need. And if you just speak to that and offer, there's no way you could offer everything you know about whatever subject you want to share in most cases. So just share and see who comes and get an idea of who you're attracting, and then worry about, building the business, so to speak. I think getting that following, you learn more about yourself. It just makes you more comfortable. Do you agree with that, Katie?
I do. And we teach that, our hashtag embrace unique is part of that, is just being you, showing up the way you show up for the world. Again, to mention Jeff Walker, his quote that it's your sacred duty to show up and serve the world in this way. Yeah. Right. And so, we get to do this for people and being ourselves, and how can I help you? And we all start business for the money, I think, and that's legit and that's honorable. But at some point there's a shift that happens and we realize it's about how can we best help the people we were created to help. And, that is part of what will attract the people to you and grow the following. And that, along with, what you've said about getting to know them and getting to know what their questions are and how can I help them take the next step, is way better than just spewing out everything I know because I'm the expert and hoping it lands somewhere.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I heard something yesterday that was really interesting. They said, because we were talking about niching down, and they said, you are your niche. You make up a niche. Yeah. And also, I just want to say that although I said there's a difference between maybe the way men might market and the way women might market, I love Jeff Walker, and I think he has both covered. And the book launch has been amazing for me. So
yeah. Well, and I think more than just it's not so much a men and women thing as it is a learning style thing. And potentially a personality thing, or even, we go into love languages even in our course on how to create online courses. Because if you are not in a space where you feel safe and welcomed, you can't learn. The brain doesn't function that way. Yeah. And so I think even more than it just being, right brain, left brain, or a man-woman thing, it has to do with the personalities and the learning styles and the love languages, and it's emotional, but it's also physiological, and it's all, there's a definite physical thing involved with it too, in just being able to learn different ways from different people. And that's why you can make an online business in today's world, because everyone needs to learn, and not everyone can learn from the same people. And that's just an amazing place to be.
You phrased that much better. I agree. You just need to, basically it's be you, people will like you for you.
Yeah.
And
love it. Thank you, Carolyn, for being with us today. I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you and for the things that we've learned. For those of you listening and watching again, I want to point you over to Carolyn Lincoln's site, playtobehave.com. And she has a free gift for you. If you've got a dog that needs to learn to listen, go over and grab her free gift for you at playtobehave.com/listen. We'll also have that link for you in the show notes, but we'd love for you to pick that up and be able to enjoy your time with your pet a little bit more. So thank you, Carolyn, for all that you do and for being here.
Thank you so much, Katie. This has been a joy, and I just love you. So it's super easy. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. All right, you guys, we'll see you next week. Wherever you are, scroll down. Let us know what you thought of this episode. And remember, your message matters.
Take care.